My wife made me sign everything in her name, then cheated. So I disappeared, started over, and she had to beg me for grocery money. I used to believe marriage meant teamwork, that if you loved someone enough, they'd never betray you. Looking back, I realize how naive that sounds, but at 32, I truly thought love was about building something together. I met Emily when I was 28. She was confident, business-savvy, and had this energy that made you feel like anything was possible. I was running small renovation jobs back then. Modest work, but honest. Emily walked into my life like she belonged there from the start. She used to say, "You've got the hands, I've got the brains. Together, we'll build an empire." And I believed her. We spent late nights drafting plans, talking about the kind of company we wanted, something that could outlast us both. She handled the paperwork, the marketing, the client calls. I stayed on job sites from dawn to dusk, hammer in hand, making our dream tangible. I remember the smell of sawdust, the hum of machinery, the sweat running down my back while Emily texted me photos of new logo designs and potential office spaces. She'd greet me at night with that proud smile, wrap her arms around my neck and whisper, "We're gonna make it big, baby." For the first time in my life, I felt seen, appreciated, like all my hard work actually meant something to someone. When she called me her partner, it wasn't just business, it was love, purpose, and future rolled into one. I put every penny I had into that company, sold my truck, cashed out my savings. She said she'd take care of the legal stuff since paperwork stresses me out. I didn't think twice, I just signed where she told me to. Back then, I thought I was building a life with my wife. I didn't know I was signing my life away. Literally. It started small, innocent even. Emily came home one night with a folder full of documents, smiling like she'd solved all our problems. "If we put everything under my name," she said, "we'll save on taxes and avoid liability issues. You know, just in case something goes wrong on site." I hesitated. My gut twisted, but she made it sound so logical. She even laughed and said, "Babe, it's not like I'm stealing your hammer. It's just paperwork." I signed. My name appeared here and there, witness, co-owner, guarantor, but she was the one listed as primary. I told myself it didn't matter. We were married. What was hers was mine, right? Months went by and business boomed. Clients lined up, referrals poured in, and for a while I thought we'd done it. Emily handled finances flawlessly, or so I thought. She'd flash me that charming grin whenever I asked about profits. "Relax," she'd say. "You do the building, I'll do the counting." Still, something felt off. I'd notice her closing the laptop when I walked in, phone calls she'd take in the other room. She started dressing sharper, buying expensive shoes, going out for client dinners that lasted until midnight. I wanted to ask questions, but every time I did, she'd sigh like I was being difficult. One night, while reviewing invoices, I realized I hadn't seen a single bank statement in months. Can you show me the account balances?" I asked gently. Her tone snapped like a whip. "Do you not trust me?" I froze. Because the truth was, I did. Too much, maybe. I apologized, feeling stupid for even asking. She kissed my cheek and said, "Good. Because we're a team, remember?" And for a while, I clung to that idea. Teamwork. I had no clue those signatures, those lines of ink, had quietly erased me from everything I thought we built. At first, I told myself all couples go through phases. Emily wasn't cheating or lying. She was just busy, right? That's what I kept repeating in my head every night I ate dinner alone while she was meeting clients. She'd come home smelling like expensive perfume I'd never bought her. Her makeup was still perfect, her smile tight, rehearsed. When I'd ask how the meeting went, she'd shrug me off. "You wouldn't understand, Mark. It's business." The distance grew in inches that turned into miles. She started criticizing me for small things. How I talked to clients, how I dressed, how I wasn't thinking big enough. I used to build her up, but now every word she said chipped something inside me. One night, I stayed up late reviewing some invoices because a supplier had called about a late payment. That didn't make sense, we were months ahead on everything. But when I logged into the account, I realized my access was gone. Locked out. Probably a system glitch, I told myself. When Emily came home, I asked her about it. Calmly, just a question. She sighed like I was an inconvenience. Mark, why do you always assume the worst? Do you have any idea how much pressure I'm under running this business while you swing hammers all day? Her tone cut deep. I apologized immediately, like I always did. I didn't mean to accuse you, I said softly. She smirked and kissed my forehead. Good, let's not make drama over nothing. But that night, as she slept beside me, I stared at the ceiling, listening to her phone buzz quietly on the nightstand. She'd turned the screen away. Something was wrong. I could feel it in my bones, the kind of unease that doesn't come from paranoia, but from instinct. I rolled over, closed my eyes, and whispered to myself, "You're just tired. Mark, don't ruin a good thing. I wish I'd trusted my gut, because that good thing was already gone." It was a Thursday night when everything finally cracked open. Emily told me she had to meet a potential investor for dinner. She dressed better than I'd ever seen. Tight black dress, red lipstick, the perfume she only wore on anniversaries. She gave me a quick kiss and said, "Wish me luck, baby. This could change everything for us." I wanted to believe her, but something inside me twisted so hard I felt sick. Maybe it was how she didn't meet my eyes when she said us. Around 9, I got a call from Jake, a friend who did roofing for one of our projects. "Hey man," he said carefully, "didn't you say Emily's out of town tonight?" I frowned. "No, she's meeting an investor." Jake went quiet. "Then why is she at Levino's?" "She's here, with that guy from Hamilton Realty. The one who flirted with her at your Christmas party?" My heart stopped. I thanked him, hung up, and sat there in silence. Then, without really thinking, I grabbed my keys. The restaurant's parking lot glowed under yellow streetlights. Through the window, I saw her, laughing, touching his hand across the table like they were in some movie. I didn't go inside. I couldn't. I just stood there, my fists clenched, watching the woman I built my world around smile at another man like I never existed. When she came home past midnight, she smelled like wine and lies. I pretended to be asleep, but as she slipped into bed, her phone buzzed. Reflex took over. I checked the screen. The message said, "Can't stop thinking about you. Same time next week?" I felt something inside me collapse. My chest burned, my hands shook, and for the first time in my life I didn't recognize the woman beside me. She slept peacefully, and I lay there in the dark realizing that my marriage, the business, the house, everything, wasn't just built on lies. It was owned by them. The next morning, I couldn't fake it anymore. My chest felt like it was full of broken glass. I waited until she came downstairs, coffee in one hand, phone in the other, and said quietly, "We need to talk." Her eyes barely flicked up. "Can it wait? I have calls." "No," I said, voice trembling. "Who's Daniel from Hamilton Realty?" The silence that followed was suffocating. She set her mug down slowly, lips curving into this cold, practiced smile. "You went through my phone." "I had to," I said, my throat dry. "You're cheating on me, Emily." She didn't deny it. Didn't even flinch. Instead, she leaned against the counter and said, "You really don't get it, do you? You're not on the business license. Not on the house. You don't own a thing here, Mark." Her words hit harder than a punch. "What are you talking about? We built this together." She shrugged, almost amused. "Correction, you worked for it. I handled the ownership. It's just business." I felt my knees weaken. "Business?" She stepped closer, eyes gleaming. "You signed it all over, remember? Don't make this dramatic. You can stay for a week, then figure out where you're going." It was like the air had been sucked out of the room. I tried to speak, but my voice cracked. "You're really doing this?" Her tone softened, mock pity in her voice. "Mark, you'll land on your feet. You're good with tools." I spent that night in my truck staring at the house I'd helped build. My name wasn't on the deed, the vehicles, or the company. I was a ghost in my own life, nothing legally, nothing emotionally, and as dawn crept in, I realized something brutal. I had built an empire for someone who saw me as an employee. The first few nights after she threw me out felt like a bad dream I couldn't wake up from. I slept in my truck, parked behind an abandoned gas station. listening to the hum of passing cars and the echo of her words. You don't own a thing here. Mark, I'd built homes for other people. But now I didn't even have a floor to stand on. I showered at public gyms, ate cheap takeout, and scrolled job listings on my cracked phone. But every time I listed my experience, it came back to her company. The company she now ran without me. When I called a few old clients for work, most of them hesitated. One finally said it. "Sorry, man. Emily told us you stole from her." That's when it hit me. She wasn't just erasing me from her life. She was rewriting the story. I was the thief now, the failure. She took everything tangible. And then she came for my reputation. I went to my parents' place one night, desperate. My mother opened the door, her face full of worry. "Mark, what happened?" I told them everything, how I'd lost the house, the company, how she cheated. My father just shook his head. "You should have protected yourself," he muttered. "Never mix love and business." That broke something in me. I wasn't asking for advice, I was asking for a lifeline. But there was none. I slept on their couch for 2 nights before my dad left an envelope with $50 and a note. "You're a grown man. Fix it." I left before sunrise. I didn't even know where I was going. Just away. Away from her. Away from everyone who saw me as a fool. I turned off my phone, sold my truck for cash, and bought a one-way bus ticket out of the state. As the city disappeared in the rearview mirror, I whispered to myself, "The man who trusted too much is gone." And in that silence, I died a little, but part of me was finally free. When I stepped off that bus, I had nothing but a duffel bag, 2 changes of clothes, and a version of myself I barely recognized. The air smelled different, saltier, quieter. I found a rundown motel on the edge of town that charged by the week and didn't ask questions. For the first time in years, no one knew my name. No one looked at me with pity or disappointment. It was strange, but freeing in a way I hadn't felt since before Emily. I picked up day jobs, painting fences, fixing roofs, hauling scrap metal. Hard work, but it gave me something my marriage never did. Peace. Every night I'd collapse onto that creaky motel bed, muscles burning, hands blistered, but I'd smile. No arguments. No manipulation. No pretending. Just me, earning enough to survive another day. After a few months, I found a small hardware store that needed a handyman. The owner, a grizzled old guy named Ray, tested me by handing me a broken door hinge. I fixed it in 5 minutes. He nodded once and said, "You start tomorrow." Ray didn't care about my past. He paid me cash, treated me with respect, and gave me a chance to rebuild. Slowly, I started saving. I stopped counting how much I'd lost and focused on what I still had. My skill, my integrity, my hands. Every now and then, I'd hear whispers from my old city. Mutual friends saying Emily's business wasn't doing so well. Bad reviews, delayed projects, clients leaving. I never asked for details. I just listened and smiled quietly to myself. Because while she was busy burning bridges, I was learning how to build new ones. And for the first time in years, I didn't wake up angry. I woke up with purpose. About a year into my new life, I started hearing more than whispers. Word spread that Emily's company was collapsing. Her investor, the same man she cheated with, had bailed on her after draining half her accounts. Clients were filing complaints, crews were quitting, and her spotless reputation was turning to ash. Ray was the one who handed me the article. "Ain't this your old partner?" he asked, sliding the newspaper across the counter. There she was, Emily Carter, once the face of local entrepreneurship, now being sued for breach of a contract. I stared at her picture for a long moment, feeling nothing, no joy, no hate, just closure, but fate wasn't done. Around that time, a property developer came into Ray's shop looking for reliable contractors. "We're done with the Carters," he said. "Need someone honest this time." Ray grinned and pointed at me. "I've got your guy. That deal changed everything." I registered a new business under my name, Carter Restoration and Design. Ironic, I know, but I wanted that name back on something honorable. Within months, the work poured in. Old clients who'd left Emily came knocking, praising my craftsmanship and honesty. I worked 16-hour days, barely slept, and poured every dime back into my business. And slowly, it grew. Bigger, steadier, stronger than what we ever built together. One night, while closing the shop, I caught myself laughing softly. The irony wasn't lost on me. Emily had everything: money, power, control, and she threw it all away for greed. I had nothing, and somehow I'd turned it into peace. Still, part of me wondered if she even remembered my name anymore. I thought I'd never find out, until the day my phone rang and I saw a number I hadn't seen in years. Blocked, but familiar somehow. I answered. "Mark?" The voice trembled. "It's me, Emily. I need your help." For a moment, I couldn't even speak. Hearing her voice after 2 years felt like a ghost had reached through the phone. My hand tightened around it, every muscle tense. "Emily," I said slowly, "you've got some nerve." She laughed nervously, a sound I used to love, now hollow. "Please, Mark, don't hang up. I'm in trouble." I didn't say anything, so she kept talking, words tumbling out in a rush. The business was gone. Her investor drained her accounts and disappeared. She was drowning in debt, her credit ruined. The house had been repossessed. "I just need a loan," she said softly. "Just to get back on my feet. I'll pay you back, I swear." I almost laughed. The irony was suffocating. "You took everything from me," I said, "and now you're asking me for money." Her voice cracked. "I know I hurt you, but I've changed. You don't understand what it's like to lose everything." That made me pause. "I think I do," I said quietly. There was silence on the line, thick and uneasy. Then, like she was clinging to a memory, she whispered, "You always were good with your hands. You could fix anything. Maybe you could fix this, too." I could hear the desperation in her voice. The same woman who once called me just an employee was now begging for my help to survive. Of me wanted to hang up and forget she ever existed. But another part, the part that had suffered in silence, wanted her to see who I'd become without her. So I said calmly, "Meet me at Levino's tomorrow at noon. We'll talk." She gasped, relieved. "You will?" "Thank you, Mark. You don't know what this means." Oh, I did. It meant that for the first time since she destroyed me, the power had shifted. Levino's looked the same as the night I saw her with him. Same dim lighting, same smell of garlic and wine, same corner table. I got there early and sat facing the door. When she walked in, it took me a second to recognize her. Emily, once radiant and confident, looked hollow. Her hair was dull, her makeup smudged, her designer bag scuffed and sagging. She froze when she saw me. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she forced a shaky smile. "You look good," she said softly. I nodded. "You look different." We sat. She talked first, nonstop, about the lawsuits, the foreclosure, the betrayal by the man she'd left me for. "He said he'd invest, but he used me," she said, voice breaking. "Now I can't even afford groceries." I listened quietly, watching her crumble piece by piece. It was strange. Once, her words could make me feel worthless. Now, they just sounded small. When she finally stopped, she reached across the table. "Mark, I know I don't deserve it, but please. I need help. You've always been the good one." I leaned back, studying her. "Do you remember the night I asked you about the business accounts?" Her eyes flickered. "Mark, please." "I trusted you," I said, my voice steady. "You took everything I built and told people I was a thief. And now you want me to save you?" Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't know what I was doing back then. I thought I was being smart. I nodded slowly, then reached into my jacket and slid a card across the table. She frowned, picking it up. Her lips parted as she read it. Carter Restoration and Design. My logo. My name. My success. "I built this," I said quietly. "On my own. Without you." The color drained from her face. She whispered, "You're him. The one taking my clients." I stood up, placing my wallet on the table. "No, Emily. I'm the man you thought you destroyed." For a long moment, Emily just stared at the card in her trembling hands. The restaurant noise faded around us. The clinking glasses, the low music, until it was just her breathing unevenly across the table. "Mark, please tell me this isn't real," she whispered. "Oh, it's real," I said quietly. Every project you lost? Every client who walked away? They came to me." Her lip quivered. "You did this to me?" I shook my head. "No, Emily, you did this to you. I just stopped standing in your shadow." Her chair scraped loudly as she leaned forward. "You don't understand. I have nothing left. My accounts are frozen, the house is gone. I can't even buy groceries." Her voice cracked into a sob. "Please, Mark. I need you." I watched her cry, something I'd once tried everything to prevent, and felt no satisfaction, no victory, just clarity. "When you kicked me out, I begged you to see me as a partner. Not a tool. And now you want my help?" She nodded, wiping at her tears. "I'll do anything. Work for you, even. Just don't leave me like this." The words hit harder than she realized. I could see flashes of the woman I once loved buried under greed and arrogance, now reduced to someone I almost pitied. I stood slowly, placing a few bills on the table for her untouched drink. "I don't mix business with betrayal," I said softly. "You taught me that." She reached out, grabbing my wrist. Her voice was a whisper, trembling. "Mark, please." I looked at her hand, small, desperate, shaking, and gently pulled free. "You once said I was good with my hands," I murmured. Turns out they were good enough to rebuild my life, too. As I walked toward the exit, I glanced back once. She was still there, shoulders shaking, clutching that business card like it was the last piece of me she'd ever have. It's been 3 years since that meeting at Lavino's. I never saw Emily again after that day. She sent a few emails at first, long, rambling apologies mixed with requests for a second chance. I never replied. Some wounds don't need reopening. They just need to scar over so you remember never to bleed that way again. These days, my life is quiet, peaceful. I wake up before sunrise, brew my own coffee, and drive to my workshop where sawdust hangs in the air like memory. My crew respects me. My clients trust me. And, for the first time, I trust myself. Sometimes I catch glimpses of my old life online, articles about failed local businesses, old photos of Emily and me at award dinners. I don't feel anger anymore, just distance, like watching a movie I've already seen too many times. A few months ago, I got one last email from her. No begging this time, just a single line. "I hope you're happy. I'm working at a furniture outlet now. Guess you really did build the better life." I didn't respond. I didn't need to, because she was right. I did build the better life. Not richer, not flashier, just real. Built from honesty, scars, and the kind of hard lessons you can't learn from comfort. Sometimes, when the sun sets and the workshop grows quiet, I think about how she once told me, "We'll build an empire together." And in a way, we did. She built hers on lies, and I built mine from what was left of the truth. Only one of them stood. I lost everything once, my name, my pride, my home. But I found something she never had, peace that can't be bought or stolen. She took everything with my name on it, but she couldn't take my name itself.